On the roster countdown today, we're going to talk about a defensive lineman that really needs to have a good year.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Bama, HSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson, that's me. Alabama Internet legend Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is awesome. That's all I can say because it's not brought to you by anybody this particular day. I'm so used to saying that. I want to thank you everydayers for being here every day. Thank you newbies for being here today. And thanks everybody for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. Jimmy, number 23 on your rankings as we're about to have our own starting 22 here in a minute.
Yeah, and this guy might as well be in the starting 22. He's really not, but you're going to see a ton of him every single Saturday, and that's a exciting redshirt sophomore, Jordan Renaud. A lot to say about Jordan Renaud. He could be a little underranked here, might be a little overranked. He's tough to put in here. First thing, let's talk about some negatives first, because sometimes we don't even get to negatives, but let's talk negatives first. He was undisciplined last year. I don't know if he led the defensive line in penalties, but it seemed like he led the defensive line in untimely penalties, like late hits on the quarterback, third down, granting the other team a first down. There was some of that. Well, is that because he's an undisciplined person or an undisciplined football player? Absolutely not. It's because he was a young player, a redshirt freshman a year ago. Really didn't play specifically that position in high school either. It's been a bit of a transformation for him. He's a much bigger kid now than he was when he was in high school, very similar to Keon Keeley that he shares the bandit position with. So out of place, a little undisciplined, still probably needs to add some size and strength for the bandit spot to hold up against the run a little better. But now let's talk about the positives, because there's a million of them. This kid's upside's fantastic. I'm talking about not just Sunday upside, but high pick in the draft upside. That's how good he can be as he continues to develop. He's a redshirt sophomore entering year 3. In my mind, clearly a 2, and by that meaning second team. But the way Alabama substitutes on defense, he's going to play a ton of snaps with the ones he did last year. He's going to play even more this year, sort of the primary backup to LT Overton. Similar player to Overton. He just needs to learn to be a little more disruptive like Overton is. Now, Overton's an older player, been around, played more snaps, but there's no reason to think today, Luke, that by the time he's a senior, like LT Overton is now, that he won't be the same player, or at least in the ballpark. There are some similarities there. I think, like Overton, Renard can become more of a leader. Again, we'll get more discipline the more he plays. Phenomenal upside. What I'm asking of Jordan Renaud this year, if he's listening to the show, and I hope he is because I'm a big fan, Jordan. I hope you're listening to the show. What I'm asking Jordan this year is you don't have to go lead the league in sacks or be some playing his way into the draft guy. I mean, I know those sound like dreams, and sure, hey, go for it. But all I would need to see, Luke, is show us this year that we're super excited about you being a starter playing LT Overton minutes in 2026.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I'm certainly down with that. And look, I love the guy. I think he's got good size. I think he's got good instincts. Like you said, he did have some untimely penalties last year. Is there one that sticks out to you?
I know there was a real unnecessary late hit or high hit on the quarterback. Just unnecessary. And it comes from, when you say things like undisciplined, I think some people take that the wrong way. They take it like, oh, here's a child not doing what he's supposed to do. No, that's not it at all. Undisciplined in football can mean you're coached to do things a certain way, and you haven't got enough reps to where you haven't done it so many times you can't get it wrong. One of coaches love to say this: don't do it so many times until you get it right. Do it so many times you can't do it wrong. That's discipline versus undiscipline. And I think it's just a matter of playing more. We hear the term freshman mistakes, but we don't often hear the term senior mistakes. And that's really the difference between being undisciplined and disciplined. It'll come with maturity, but mostly it'll come with reps.
He's listed at about 6'3.5", 240. I think he's bigger than that.
I think he's bigger than that. I mean, he certainly appears bigger than that in person. I think the plan with him all along was bigger. Heck, if you ask me right now what he weighed, I would tell you he weighs more like 268 or 265. So I wonder if that's an old listing or if I'm just wrong. But it seems to me like when I think Jordan Renaud, I think 6'4", 265.
Yeah. Again, big fan. Really want him to have an excellent year out of Texas from the 2023 class. I guess then if he had a good enough year, he could go pro, right?
Yeah, it would have to be a do the kids call it a glow up? I mean, it would have to be phenomenal because he's not even on NFL radar right now, nor should he be. That shouldn't be the expectation. I think the kid, yes, these kids, a lot of them have, it's not big egos. They think a lot of themselves, and good. It's the only way to be great. Chipper Jones, the baseball player, called it necessary arrogance. You got to have it. I'm sure the kid thinks, yeah, I'm going to have this monster year and maybe be an NFL draft pick. Well, I think in terms of reality and in terms of realistic expectations, I just want to see a more disciplined, improved player that turns the corner from contributor to playmaker. And like I said, the ideal thing would be at the end of this year. Here's the ideal thing for me. This is the grand slam home run for Jordan Renaud. It's not the draft. The grand slam home run, Luke, is we say, gosh, LT Overton was a great player. We're going to miss him. He's going to be a high pick in the draft. But I don't feel like next year's a step down. I think we're getting the same dude in Jordan Renaud that we just had in Overton. That's the grand slam home run for me. Show us you can be as good as LT next year.
Is one thing I like about this Rivals on 3 merger, and maybe they were doing this before, but I just didn't notice it. They have, when you go to the profile, it shows, okay, this guy reminds us of blank, and it's usually somebody that was drafted in the NFL. And it said Jordan Renaud reminds them of Boogie Basham Jr. from Wake Forest, who was drafted by the Bills in the 2nd round. And I don't remember him for anything, so I got to take their word for it.
I don't remember enough of him to tell you whether that's a good comp or not. My comp is just super simple and keeping it simple, and that's LT. I mean, I think he can be LT Overton. I think he's got a really similar skill set to LT. LT's just a little bit more experienced, a year older, and I think in terms of high school size, projected college size, skill set, I think LT is a pretty good comp. Now, let's remember this about LT Overton, and it kind of gets back to what I was just saying in my Jordan Renaud rant a second ago, Luke, is that year 1, year 2 at Texas A&M, nobody on the planet Earth was talking about LT Overton in the NFL draft. That happened last year. His coming out party in college football was his year 3 at Alabama. That's when it happened for him. And now this is Jordan Renaud's year 3. Now, he's got LT Overton sort of blocking him from getting all those reps and all those game reps and stuff like that. It's going to hold him back just a little bit. But the point is, we hadn't seen the best of Jordan Renaud yet. Well, we didn't see LT Overton really until year 3. I think it'll be more like year 3.5 for Renaud. But LT Overton is on track to potentially even be a 1st-round draft pick. But he did not look like that at Texas A&M in year 1 or 2.
All right, when we come back, speaking of comps, we're going to talk about a comp or 2 or 3 for Ty Simpson. But let me tell you about Gametime. Have you ever noticed at the last have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game time. What is going on with me right now? Maybe it is game time. Maybe it's game day. And you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food or drinks or merchandise or even invite a bigger group to come with you to that game. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to the first pitch or the first swing or the first shot or kickoff or whatever. And they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee. And all this will take the worry out of buying tickets. And that's what you want. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. All one word for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So Ty Simpson, he's starting to get talked about a lot on a lot of shows.
Yep.
And then so today I was listening to, I forget which show it was, one of the national shows, and they were like, we're going to have, a guy who knows Alabama better than anybody, and that's Jim Dunaway from the next round. Look, they're good folks over there at the next round. Totally agree. And Jim Dunaway talked about A.J. McCarron, and he said, that's my favorite all-time Alabama quarterback. He said, I think he's the best all-time. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
And I think he basically thinks that because of 2 national championships, and probably should have been 3. Without a kick six is 3. But I'm not – I guess we define best different ways. I mean,
right.
Yeah, championships is a way, but I mean, if you want to do it that way, then Dan Marino's not even in the conversation, and I think that's BS. Anyway, it got me thinking, can Ty Simpson be A.J. McCarron-esque? And if he is, we can win a national championship. Now, A.J. got a lot of love, and I don't know if he was first team All-American, but I know he was second team.
I think he might have been first team. I mean, he did win the Maxwell Award his senior year. That's really
I'm about to look it up.
The other Heisman. I mean, the Maxwell Award goes to the best player in college football, which is the thing that the Heisman goes to. And A.J. won the Maxwell. So that shows he was a strong player in the Heisman discussion after his senior year. But that said, and I'm a big A.J. fan too. Trust me, I love A.J. McCarron and everything he did for Alabama. But I think A.J. in the Heisman discussion was more of a career nod to him than he's the best college football player in the country. To me, it was more like we need to honor this guy for this incredible career, as opposed to, boy, he blew us out of the water this season.
Yeah. He was a first-team All-American in 2013. I did not – I thought I remember his being second team, but okay, I was wrong. So I think that if he's A.J. McCarron-esque, look, I'm not asking him to be – again, this is where – when I start talking like this, and if you buy into what Jim Dunaway's selling, meaning that he thinks A.J. McCarron is the best quarterback at Alabama, then you think that what I'm saying, it doesn't make sense. But see, I think Tua's better than A.J. I think Bryce Young's better.
Right.
I could make a strong case Jalen Hurts is better.
Yep.
All that, right? But I'm almost even saying, hey, I'm all for Ty Simpson giving me Greg McElroy output, I should say. And that is no slight. When you say it that way, it seems like I'm slapping Greg McElroy in the face. I'm not. I think Greg McElroy was great.
Yeah. But
I think of all the Saban era quarterbacks, he's not going to be one of the top ones. Now, Jake Coker, another one. I would be fine if Ty Simpson were Jake Coker-esque. He's not going to be as strong as Jake Coker was. He's not going to be as fearless, I don't think, as Jake Coker was. But he might be able to throw a better ball than Jake Coker did.
I actually think he will. I can get a little carried away sometimes. Sometimes I'm criticized in the comments on this show and on Twitter for being such a Ty fan. Well, I certainly admit. But one thing I want to bring up before it's like, Jimmy is such a Ty. He's so pro Ty, and he hasn't even played, and he shouldn't be this high on him. You know who joins me in being that high on Ty Simpson? Who's like, it's not just me. Let me tell you, this is who joins me. Kalen DeBoer. And this is why. It's been apparent that Ty was going to be the starting quarterback since the Michigan game. Did they go into the winter portal and look for a quarterback? No. Now that Ty was the quarterback all through the spring, number one, did they go in the spring portal because they need a veteran quarterback? No. Isaiah Horton, who's going to be an NFL player, saw an NFL scout the other day say, Horton was on our radar at Miami. He looked really good at Miami as a pro prospect. Isaiah Horton's got a pro prospects to think of. He just played a season with Cam Ward. He's leaving that and leaving Carson Beck to go play with Ty Simpson, and he knows Ty. He's played with Ty before. So it's not just me. If you don't like my word, Take Kalen DeBoer's. Take Isaiah Horton's. Okay, now, that aside, the comps. Here's the thing, and this is where I will get carried away a little bit. I'm not going to compare Ty to anybody who's not a late career starter at Alabama, because it is unusual. Because, Jalen Milroe took over as a sophomore. Bryce Young took over as a sophomore. Jalen Hurts took over as a freshman. Tua took over as a sophomore. This run of great quarterbacks, most of them have taken over when they've been young. Well, a few of them haven't. Here's a couple that took over late in their career as the starter. Mac Jones, year 4, just like Ty. Greg McElroy, year 4, just like Ty. Blake Sims, year 4 or 5. He was a senior, when he took over. I think year 4 for Blake. I can't remember if he redshirted or not. And then he spent some time not playing quarterback. But Blake Sims also did. Jake Coker did for sure. Year 5 for Jake. So I'm looking at those guys. A.J. McCarron, by the way, took over in year 3, even though he quarterbacked for 3 years. He was a redshirt sophomore in 2011. So I don't count A.J. A.J. was a little younger. Here's the thing, and this is where I get carried away. I think Ty's better than all those guys. I think Ty's better than Coker. I think Ty's better than Mac Jones. I think Ty's better than Greg McElroy. I think Ty is a better quarterback, not a better athlete, a better quarterback than Blake Sims. I think he's be better than all of them. I think he's a more gifted kid. None of those guys were 5 stars. None of them. Ty was. Ty's just far more athletic, bigger, stronger, faster than McElroy and Mac. He's a more polished quarterback than Coker and Blake. I think he's going to be better than all of them.
You know what? When we do our little shorts that get put out there, that rant is going to be the short. I can tell you right now. Well,
it wasn't too short, boy. And once again, I'm fine with that, but it's going to lead to, gosh, Jimmy goes overboard about Ty. So does Kalen DeBoer. So does Isaiah Horton. Now, I could be wrong. By the way, I could be wrong. Everybody's listening to the show knows we've been doing the show for a long time. We could probably sit here and do a whole week's worth of shows about stuff I've been wrong about. We could just be adding this to the pile. But it is how I honestly feel. And I have been right about a lot of stuff, too.
Yeah, you are right.
Sometimes.
Pat yourself on the back, son.
Yeah.
I'm a big, you're an internet legend after all. All right. So recruiting, the dust is settled. It is, it's still kind of fun right now to poke a little fun at Auburn. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And I think some Auburn fans that I know are starting to come around to, hey, this whole thing that Cohen and Hugh Freeze talked about, like we're doing it the right way and everybody else is wrong. It goes – I said this on an Auburn show that my friends do. A friend of mine used to tell me I was upset about, breaking up with somebody or some girl broke up with me. This is a gazillion years ago. And the guy said, look, Luke, like everybody was telling you should break up with her. I was like, I know, but and he's like, Luke, if everybody in the room has 2:30 and your watch has 2:00, is your watch that screwed up? And I was like this, you know what? I started using that. That's my philosophy for everything. If everybody's got something and you've got something else, pretty good chance that you're the one that's wrong.
Yeah, there's also the implication, basically, that everyone out there is cheating the new system, but Auburn's not. So I just want to give a special shout out to the cheaters at Tulsa and Toledo. I mean, they're ahead of Auburn. Are they cheating? Have they figured out NIL and the house settlement? But see, that's why that whole explanation is a little absurd. This is what. Hey, I don't know Auburn's situation. We're locked on Bama, not locked on Auburn, and I don't get all emotional about it like you do and a lot of people listen to the show do. I don't really care. But it seems to me that it would be a little smarter for them to say, we went huge in the portal. We had to keep all these guys from last year. A lot of them wanted to get in the portal. We had to keep guys in the portal. We had to go get Singleton out of the portal. He didn't really want to play here because we don't exactly put wide receivers in the NFL like Ohio State. He didn't really want to be here. We had to go big for a few guys. And you know what? A little short. We didn't know the house settlement and all this stuff would be like it is. We're a little short. What we're going to have to do is clear out some of these guys. And then now that we kind of got, I think we got a better understanding going forward. But it was very expensive for us to build this roster that all you Auburn fans are excited about. Hey, this is going to be our best team. We're going to win 8 games. We're going to win 9 games. We might win 10 games. It was expensive to put that roster together. So we're a little short right now. And that's what. And see, that explanation makes more sense to me. And it's even something you could sell a little bit, I think, because we talk about all the time. Alabama's got a budget too. And that's why, we explain some of the things that we explain here. But their explanation of everyone's doing this wrong and we're the only ones right, that's way worse than saying we overspent building the roster that we got for this season and it's put us a little behind.
I also saw another Bama podcast, or at least I saw a short from it, where they talked about Alabama potentially even adding another receiver or maybe 2 in this class. I'm going to go on record again. I might be totally off. I could be wrong. We could put it in that same pile of Jimmy's wrongness. We ain't going to get another receiver, I don't think.
I don't think so either, but I will throw in a caveat. Rosters are going to one. Caveat being, rosters are going to 105, and you got all those scholarships. I'm just saying, if we're adding receivers from here, I will make a blanket assumption it's for not a full scholarship, not full rev share. This is someone that is basically the 2026 equivalent of a walk-on.
Yeah,
though, but they can be scholarship level type players because you literally can give scholarships. And I want everybody listening, we're learning these new rules too, and it is crazy. Up until this year, football scholarships were full scholarship. There was no such thing at the FBS level. At the FBS level, there was no such thing as a partial scholarship. You were on full scholarship or you weren't on scholarship. Now you can be on a partial scholarship, just like all those years of baseball and softball and other sports that had the term that they use in the industry as equivalency scholarships. That was for other sports. Now you can do it in football. Now you can do it in basketball. You don't have to give these guys full scholarships. So that might be a version of a walk-on. So I wouldn't doubt that Alabama could talk a kid. Let's say a kid was planning on signing with, I'm just picking a random Southern Miss. And he was going to go to Southern Miss and he was going to get a full scholarship and he was going to get $3,000 a month in rev share money. Alabama might come to that kid and say, we ain't got any rev share money, but we'll give you a uniform. You play football for Alabama and here's a full scholarship. That's it's almost like a walk-on situation, right? But it's really post-house settlement type recruiting. So I'm just saying that could happen. But in terms of getting a name wide receiver that's going to cost you the full ride, that's going to cost you a significant rev share piece, I'm with Luke. I don't see how that could happen. I think they're full.
All right. So we kind of agree. They're like 5 dudes we think Bama is in on. These are the ones that you are going to hear associated the most with Bama at the moment. Williams Ira, Bear Fretwell, Tank Jones, Elijah Golden, and Kiowa Tatum. Okay? Or Tatum Kiowa. I always get them backwards. It doesn't matter. So
probably matters to the kid, especially if his folks are listening to the show. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Kiowa. Hey.
Maybe he thinks I talk with commas, like that's the way we'd fight, Kiowa, comma, Tatum. But anyway, okay. So of those 5,
yep,
what order do you think are most likely to least likely? I'll go first.
Most likely? Okay.
Most likely to least likely. I'll go Kiowa, Tank, Zaire, Fretwell, and Golden.
I put Golden last. I'll put Fretwell higher.
So
I'll put Fretwell above Zaire in terms of most likely.
3 and 4.
I'll switch 3 and 4. Yeah, I'll stick with yours on 1 and 2. Though my confidence level with Tank is probably lower than many. Now, I'd still say today, as this is the Tuesday show of this week, as of Tuesday, where's Tank Jones going? My answer is Alabama. I just have that lower confidence level in it than I've had before because I think A&M and Oregon have made significant offers that will be very difficult for him to turn down, though he is an Alabama fan.
As we are taping this, Hayes Fawcett, who we have determined to be probably one of the more powerful people on the Twitterverse.
Yeah, him and Greg Sankey.
He posted a GIF of A&M doing something and said ×2, meaning they have 2 commitments coming down the pike. Now, by the way, it is coming down the pike, not coming down the pipe. People always say that, like coming down the pipe is coming down the pipe.
I saw the funny, raked over the coals. So on the internet, been raped over the coals.
Which
that's terrible. It's terrible. But I saw something this weekend that I've never seen before, and I think it was on the Auburn board. So shout out to all Auburn posters. This is funny. Raped over at the coals. KOHLS. Yeah. I laughed for 10 solid minutes at that. It's terrible. It's terrible.
It is terrible, but it all comes down to like all the message boards have their own isms. Like BOL have BOL isms. Raped over the coals is one of them. Take it with a grade of salt. Grade of salt. I've seen a bunch like that, and I've seen anyway. I'm trying to think of some other ones, but
I'll probably get a bunch of them wrong myself. I think when I was much younger, I used to say road to hoe instead of row to hoe.
I would
say road, and I would say road until I finally they don't hoe roads. I'm talking to myself one day. I think it's something else.
It is funny when people do it. And they do it all everybody's done something like that once. Like I'll never forget. I was leaving an Alabama basketball game, and it was a long time ago. It was maybe even David Hobbs era with some other friends, and we had all been drinking. And I said something like, "Yeah, that guy could be the best player since Jerry Mule Harper." And somebody's like, his nickname wasn't Mule, and if it was probably for something totally different. It's like, I was like, why did I say that?
That's got a couple of different.
I know
that's funny. We should start doing that all the time, using a famous Alabama nickname to describe a less famous Alabama player. Would be really, like Cornelius Bennett. Everybody calls him Biscuit. Well, I would say just take some lesser outside linebacker. I mean, I don't know who. Let's say Chavis Williams. Remember him, Chavis Williams? Biscuit. Look up Biscuit.
Chris Biscuit Caps.
Yeah, exactly. Or just call somebody Deuce who's not even 2.
I know. That's what I was saying.
Like an offensive lineman. Yeah, that would be great. Parker the Deuce Brailsford.
Howard Deuce Cross. I mean, I'm going in the Wayback Machine for some of these. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.